guys, how we doing? Welcome to another Truth Be Told podcast. My name is Dan Hancock, the Mental Health PT. In this episode, I'm joined by the amazing Chris Bradley, otherwise known as the Glasgow PT, and this is called The Great Body Image Standoff. Me and Chris dive into all things in the fitness industry regarding body image, and we really just have a good, healthy debate on what goes, what shouldn't go, and the best way to get results from your clients. This episode is from anyone looking to get a transformation, whether it's the mind or the body, anyone who wants to find out a little bit more about how PTs work, and also for anyone just wanting to be a little bit inspired. If you don't already, please follow me on Facebook at Dan Hancock, the Mental Health PT, or on Instagram at InstaDanFitness. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this podcast. Guys, this episode is amazing. I hope you enjoy. Before we go any further, I want to make everyone aware that I'm a massive fan of Chris's work. I like a lot of what he does, and I think he's done an incredible job to still be able to use before and after pictures and actually do them extremely tastefully, extremely gracefully, as a lot of the fitness industry has butchered these. But this is what we're going to dive into and talk about today. So we're going to make it a little bit of a debate style. We're going to share different types of arguments, and the main thing for this is for you guys to pick up on what you think will work best for you to document your own journey, and then hopefully actually pick apart little bits in the fitness industry that me and Chris want to change. So what we'll do is let's dive in, and Chris, tell us a little bit about you. Give us a little bit of an introduction.
Nice introduction. Thanks very much, mate. I appreciate that. Guys, thanks for listening. And Dan, thanks for having me on, mate. So a wee introduction to me. I'll give you the short version so we can crack on with stuff you really want to hear and you want to hear my life story. But I've been a coach / PT, whatever they want to call it these days. It just gives us two versions of calling it, coach or PT. It's like, let's just settle for one. We're all coaches. So I've been doing this now 6 years. I was a personal trainer in Pure Gym, and I started off the back of coming from the same as Dan. I worked in Ladbrokes. So putting Sainsbury's and stuff like that. Yep, Sainsbury's as well. So, and then decided, right, when I was in a gym, watching PTs, going about their lovely wee life, just having lunch, sitting there on trackies and stuff, I was like, right, that's what I want to do. So worked in Ladbrokes, got a promotion knowing that I needed the money to pay for the course, and then kept the job in Ladbrokes part-time while I could pick up clients, basically. Got my first 10 clients and then quit Ladbrokes, and then worked in Pure Gym for 5.5 years. And then came to a point I really enjoyed it. I really started doing well after a big dip, and self-belief issues, and kind of just want to run back into safety zone, which was employment again. So managed to overcome that, managed to go over that hill, and things have worked out pretty well. We're in a position now where we've got a gym, and my girlfriend is part of the company as well, working with us. And yeah, just looking to keep growing the brand and growing the name, and just produce a big impact and results in first of all Glasgow, then Scotland, and then the UK and forward. So here we are today on Dan's podcast, and yeah, mate, excited to dive in. I think that what you're doing is so different, and that has propelled you over the last 6 months, and because of that you're coming at it from a different angle, which a lot of PTs are scared to dip their toe into. And it's worked out well at the time we're facing right now with these hard times, especially people's mental health and stuff like that. So really well done for that, mate. And I think with my sort of before and afters and physical transformation side of it, and your approach to the way you deal with mental health and tackle the problem, let's face it, head on. It's no dancing about the subject, but it should hopefully help people for all the different angles, mate. So yeah, mate, it's ready to get stuck in.
Right, man, appreciate it. Thank you. Chris left Ladbrokes in a much more graceful way than me. Gracious way than me. I got absolutely fucking mad at one night, and then went in, had the keys for the shop, fell asleep behind the counter, and didn't open before Old Firm Day. So that's how I left.
What a way you go out, mate. Love it.
That's how I left Ladbrokes. But then that forced my hand, and off leaving that and becoming unemployed, that's when I started PTing. So what we're going to do is, guys, we're going to do a little bit of a quick icebreaker. So I'm going to set 3 minutes on the clock, and what we're going to do is we're going to get Chris to answer some questions for us, a couple true or falses, just for you guys to get a little bit of knowledge and hopefully take something away from this, and also find a little bit more about Chris's personality as well, hopefully. So no pressure, mate. Chris did tell me before this interview, asked whether he wanted me to send him questions, and he told me to put him on the spot. So no Glaswegians were hurt in the in the filming of this podcast. So let's get ready to go. Timer starts now. Tell me something that you are proud of.
Mate, I'm proud of what I've grown in terms of the company and the business from the tools that I was given, let's just say, over the last 10 years or whatever. I mean, by no means was I in the dumps and living outside, but relatively speaking, I'm happy to say that after leaving school with no qualifications and no financial support from any family members, I'm quite happy to be in the position I'm in, that I'm able to help people and wake up every day with a purpose, mate. So that's probably my biggest thing I'm proud of.
Brilliant, man. Love that. Biggest regret, if any?
Biggest regret? I mean, you know what it's like, Dan. I could say that I wish I started this sooner, but I wouldn't have been ready mentally, physically, as a person. If I started this back when I was 18, 19, I'd have just been another statistic in the PT game, which was you're probably going to stop doing it after 3 years. So that could be a regret. I'm now 30, and I feel that with the knowledge I could have had back then to do it for 10 years, I would probably still be at the same position or worse off. So not really a regret as such, but it'd just be interesting to see what would I done if I'd done it 10 years ago first and then carried it through.
Yeah, I'm the same. The thought often pops into my mind, but then I'm the exact same thing. I feel as if the level that we're at now and the stage we're at now and that probably maturity and business-driven way has allowed us to excel. So no, 100% agree. If you're on your deathbed today, what advice would you give to future grandkids or kids?
I mean, I would just say work hard. Like, I think focus on yourself and work hard, because no matter if you work like a fool and a busy fool, eventually you'll still pay dividends, man. Somebody will notice you, somebody will see, whether it's a client, whether it's another family member, and the opportunity will come. If you're lazy, you'd have to be very, very privileged to actually get by in life. But I think if you're lazy and you don't have that work ethic or don't desire to do better every day, then you're never going to get anywhere. So I know that sounds a bit like, work hard, a bit cheesy, but it's the truth, mate. Half the time I'm just winging it. I just know that if I keep working, something will work it. Do you know what I mean? It's that whole flinging off darts at the dartboard, one of them will land. And eventually you'll just get good at throwing darts at the dartboard. So
right, man. Aye, good. No, I like that. Favourite boy band?
Favourite boy band? It's a tie between JLS and Westlife. Do you need an answer?
Aye, we've got 40 seconds.
Go for JLS.
JLS, right.
Seen them twice live.
Right, quick, true or false? One-to-one PT is outdated. True or false?
False.
Okay, cool. We won't add any context for that because we'll be here all day. Glasgow is the best city in Scotland. True or false?
Oh, true. Why is it not the capital? I just don't understand it. Because I've not got a castle? Come on.
Last one very quickly. What is the biggest mistake somebody who is just starting out the fitness journey could make? Something to avoid?
Comparing ourselves.
Yeah.
Comparison. 100%.
Yeah, good. Brilliant. And that we'll talk a little bit about this as we go into it as well. So let's dive into these main questions. So I obviously reached out to Chris and said, I think this would be a really good idea just for us to bounce ideas off each other and actually bounce a couple of arguments off each other, but in a really sort of, like I said, gracious and hopefully mature way. From your perspective, why did you agree to do this today? You've got a voice now and you like sharing your voice. I mean, this is a compliment. You're very opinionated, but it's a good thing. You know what you like, you know what you dislike, and you use that knowledge to help other people. It's not like you're being opinionated to be an arsehole. So why did you agree to do this today?
Maybe just because I think the interesting thing about what you messaged me and said, well, first of all, I know your work. So I know that you're not about the before and afters, which is typically the case over the last 5 years or 6 years or so. So I know that I want to tell my side of it. I want to tell, and I kind of want to back up the before and after stage of it, because as we'll dive right into, mate, there's like anything that has the power to motivate you has the exact same power to demotivate you, and that's just this across the board. So if, for example, you wake up and you see a fellow member of the Body and Mind program really killing it, it's enough to make you go, I'm going to go and do that as well. I'm going to go out the walk. I'm going to fill my journal in. But at the same time, you could wake up the next day and it could trigger you. It could make you go, they're always killing it. I feel even worse now. So I think when it comes to before and afters, as we'll dive into, mate, I think they have that power, but they also have the other side of it, which coaches are missing out on. And that's the same with it when it comes to the mental health aspect of it and the mindset side of it. There's pros and cons to every element, and they both have the same power to affect you or impact you in a negative way as well.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good place to start, because then what I suppose that boils down to is something either has the power to motivate you or for you to use that as a comparison and demotivate you. And it's Chris's job to make whatever it is and whatever the tools that we have to motivate people so that they have a different outlook and so that they can see that as opposed to a negative comparison than them feeling worse about themselves. So that's why it's interesting how the approaches are so different. So
we discussed before and after pictures. Why do you think that before and after pictures get such a bad rap in the fitness industry?
Mate, because historically they're attached to some sort of quick fix. They're attached to some sort of unethical dieting means and short-term unrealistic targets and goals. There's that aspect of it. There's also the aspect of right now we're in an age where it's all about body image. It's never been at the forefront of people's minds. And with Instagram and stuff like that, it's literally just who can get in the best shape, or so we think it is. So I think that's one of the biggest cons about it. It could be all about the body. So for example, if you've already got body dysmorphia, and you focus on a before and after, it's only going to get worse, because every single Saturday, or every day for that matter, you're going to wake up and take a photo of yourself. You then judge yourself by what you see in that image. And as we'll know from what Dan harps on about all over his social media, is because you're focusing on the before and after, you're overlooking all these other metrics that actually are the benefit, or have actually improved. And I think, mate, that the big thing about before and afters is they're usually attached to 7 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, some case 4, 5 weeks, all that kind of crazy low target numbers. So I think traditionally people associate before and afters with either quick fixes, messing about with the angles and the cameras and the lights, and even in some cases Photoshop. So I think they get a bad rep because of things like that, mate. I think it's traditionally people think they look at before and after, and it's losing its sort of authority now because of all these things have came out, because of people have, the standard pose, mate. Here's me standing normal, unposed, and then here's me standing posed, and it just shows the difference. That, of course, is now being butchered because people are even overextending, even celebrities who are 10% body fat. So you can see, mate, there's all different versions of it as well. So I think that's why, mate.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out as well that me and Chris can, I 100% believe, have the authority to talk about this because we've experienced it. And because, I mean, I've fucking done it. I've done it. I did the before and after. I absolutely stuffed my face eating macaroni and cheese on top of a pizza like 3 nights a week. It was fucking brilliant, by the way, just to point out. I'll fire a photo of that so you can see that just now. And I did it, then dramatically lost body fat, I think it was like 8 weeks or something like that. And the transformation was unbelievable. And I actually remember when I did that and somebody commented on it, I was on Facebook, what I thought was a Facebook hater at the time, just being like, this is false marketing, blah, blah, blah. And I remember I deleted it. And I'm a wee bit like ashamed of that now. But again, I feel as if we need to go through these things to realize them, and then obviously in order to help people as well. So guys, hopefully that gives you a little bit of more context on before and after pictures. And in my program, I don't use before and after pictures, and that's not me saying that I disagree with them. Absolutely not at all. It's because, purely to be totally honest, I wanted to do something that was a little bit different. It's not what a lot of people think, is that I completely disagree with them. So you use before and after pictures to market your business and to market success, right? And guys, if you're ever scrolling through Instagram, you'll see lots of different before and afters, and a lot of them, once you've seen one, you've seen them all. Chris's isn't the case of that. So I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit about the power stance. And I also want you to let us know, do you think that aesthetics and body image is the best way to market exercise?
The best way? I think, mate, everything has to come down with context. I think the best thing that you can do to market is there has to be context there. And the context has to apply not only to the client that's physically went through it or mentally went through it, but the person viewing it. The context is that if Dan posts a screenshot from a client who has literally took themselves from depression to, having a kid, to growing a family, to actually exercising. And, I know you do your scores as soon as people come on the program. And if the scores are from 2s and 3s up to 8s or 9s, that context for someone viewing that has to be similar. So, for example, me doing a power stance, mate, to a female who's 48, who's had 2 kids and had a bad post-pregnancy and is just in a really bad place. They may have a death in the family. Do you think they want to see someone standing there acting powerfully and confident in their underwear? No, because the context isn't right. So, first of all, the context has to apply to the person viewing it, and it's got to be given in the actual transformation itself. Mate, a perfect example of this is, I'm sure we'll get into this, mate, but one of the problems I've got with a lot of PTs jumping on the mental health side of it and the mindset side of it It's great. Listen, it's great. But like I said back at the start of the podcast, mate, everything has the same power to motivate and demotivate, but also there has to be context. I know of PTs who are so scared to push their clients to the limits, i.e., call them on their shit. Like they get you on the phone at the start of the journey of the 90 days or whatever and say, look, Dan, this can't go on. Like I'm literally went up 4 dress sizes. I've lost my confidence. My husband's sleeping in the other room. It's affecting my work. So there was a promotion recently and I just couldn't face, being in smart wear. I like loose clothing. So you can see how the body fat of that person has actually snowballed into other elements of their life. Then they come to like a PT who's focused on their mental health, and absolutely there's a problem there. Of course there is, but it's confidence. So actually, the person, the PT that's trying to focus on their mindset and mental health, which should be an element no matter what, right? The person just needs to lose fat. It might be the case. So instead, what you've done is you've tried to put them down this path of 6 months later, they've not lost any fat because you're not pressing the right buttons to them. They might just need to look, Laura, I need you to adhere to your nutrition. All of a sudden, she drops back down her dress sizes. She feels confident. She goes for the job. That the next promotion that comes up, she gets the job. Her and her husband are more confident together. They start having sex again. The family house is a lot better. Now, this is an ideal world, Dan, but you can see how if a PT focuses too much on the mental health stuff, even though they might not even have the right buttons. I mean, you're doing this, so you're going to go right in on it. You're going to find all the buttons for the mental health side of it. But some PTs, I feel just now, are shying away from the real problem, which is people need to lose fat. So they need to, look, I'm calling you on your shit here. Adhere to your nutrition, send your check-in. Even if it's your measurements, even if it's less bloat, I'm not even just talking about pictures here. But you can see how sometimes the wrong levers get pulled, and that's where we're in an age, mate, which is fantastic that we're now focusing on mental health. Because I tell you something, when I first started being a PT, I stayed well clear of that because I had no idea about it, right? And that's why you've done so well, and your guys are doing so well because you're prepared to make mistakes and try to tackle it head on. But I just feel, mate, it's the same. People are jumping on a bit of a hype without really realizing and meeting the client where they need to meet them. Because when somebody loses fat, mate, it can fix a lot of problems. Like, I know that right now we're in lockdown and people's mental health are really, really suffering. But there's a lot of people who could actually do with losing a bit of fat. And I'm not saying go in an aggressive deficit. I'm saying get fresh air, walk, because the snowball effect that can have on your everyday life is life-changing, mate.
Yeah, brilliant. So the argument against that would be that, so Chris is obviously saying that in order for them to build some of that confidence, feel more comfortable in their own skin, feel more comfortable socializing, going out the house, going to the shops and all this thing, if they lost that little bit of body fat and felt more comfortable, that would give the confidence to do that, then everything would then fall into place. The argument against that would be that people are basing their self-worth on the way that they look. So then what would you say to that? My opinion on that would be that, again, it's just absolutely subjective and it's based on the individual. And this is why mine and Chris's job is so important, because we need to find out about that individual inside out. So for example, like Chris said there, as a PT, you're going to have clients come to you and they're going to say certain things. And on the surface, it might be, yeah, I want to lose fat. On the surface, it could be something a lot deeper. And it's our job to do that. And this is what a lot of people don't do. So, for example, I could be giving mental health advice to someone who doesn't necessarily need that mental health advice. Yep. They might literally just want to drop a few pounds. So going back to what I mentioned earlier, what would you say to that if you said that then that's people basing their self-worth, or people are searching for happiness on the way that they look, whereas the other argument would be that people could look inwards and then find that self-love and find that appreciation within themselves, so much so that they could, for example, go on holiday, stand by the pool, not have actually dropped a pound, and then be the happiest and most confident version of yourself. So what would your take on that be?
Yeah, mate, 100%. I think it's not going to be, no matter what kind of coach you are, no matter how open you are and how friendly you are and stuff like that, it's our job to first of all speak to the client one-to-one and have some sort of framework. So I know you've got we look at different elements of their life. So it's not a case of jump on board, here's your calories, here's your training, crack on. It's what makes you tick? Where's the problem? I saw you're on medication. Do you mind giving me a bit more context to that? Is it medication that you're just on for the sake of it because you were 18 and you got prescribed it and you keep taking it? So I think, mate, I think it's our job to really take a deep dive, be confident. What's the worst case scenario? Any coaches listening to this, what's the worst case scenario that you ask a personal question to a client and they tell you to fuck off? No problem at all. That's fine. Ask again in 3 months' time and they're more confident with you and they've got that buy-in. But it's our job, first point of contact, ask them the questions, ask them about their family, ask them about the different elements of their life, because all of a sudden you'll see a sort of pattern emerge that whether it's physical, I think you're right, mate. I think that I could get someone on board, not see any red flags, and then push them to lose fat when it's like, you never hit the other nail, which was the deep-rooted problem, which was depression, which was the anniversary of a death of someone coming up, that every year it just gets really, really tough around each time. So yeah, mate, you're absolutely spot on. And listen, the thing is, as trainers and coaches, we've got levers to pull, and sometimes we pull the wrong one. Sometimes we don't ever pull the right one. But that's where we eventually want to get to a point to get clients to open up to us and just use certain things. Like, I know that your trainings and the way you review the different elements, if, for example, the scores are 3 across the board for a client and then it goes up to 8, but there's still 1 at 4, there's your deep-rooted problem, probably, maybe. So yeah, mate, I think you're absolutely spot on. I think the deep-rooted thing is something that 4 years ago, when I was looking for before and afters to get really good with marketing and get results, I probably overlooked a couple of them. So now it's about, for me, that's why I do 6 months transformations, mate. I do 6 months before and afters. Guilty. About 3 years ago, I was definitely doing 12-week, 8-week. So that's it, mate. So I was definitely doing that. But now we're in an age where we want to actually, a text message is a lot more powerful than actually a physical picture and the netting.
Yeah, brilliant, man. So what would you say to, if you had, right, let's say we've got 2 ends here, and right, gun to your head, you need to answer, why should people exercise? Should they be exercising to look a certain way? Should they be exercising to make themselves feel better?
Feel better, mate. Every day of the week. Feel better.
And the reason I asked you that, for anyone who knows Chris and follows this stuff, if you don't, jump on Instagram and have a wee look. The reason I asked that is just because Chris is using that to market and using body image to market, that doesn't mean that he thinks that that's the most important thing.
Yep.
Obviously there's the business element, of course there is, right, guys? And we'll be totally open and honest about it. That's what initially was one of my things that excited me about my challenge, was that I was going to be losing out on the best tool for business, which is a before and after picture. And I fucking relished that challenge. So just because Chris is marketing that, don't get confused and don't think that that's his sole belief, is that people are exercising to look a certain way.
Yep.
With that, he's wanting people to exercise to feel better, and it is through their body image that they're going to do that. If done correctly, could exercising to look a certain way, if that is someone's main motivation, become obsessive? And how have you seen that in your own line of work?
Yeah, mate, totally. Obviously, doing what I do, I attract a certain type of client, certain types of clients, but one type in particular is, I want to be the next transformation, and quite often we see it in the consultation form. I want to be the next transformation. And it's like, look, that's great. I love that. I love that you came on board and you're looking for something. You know what you're going to get for us, and we'll give you everything we can. But it can have a detrimental effect. It can be every 2 weeks we do check-in photos, and Chris, I'm not seeing much changes. And first thing in the morning they send their photos and they're obsessing over the pictures. And actually, I have to rein them back in, because it's like, look, the thing is, the more emphasis I put on the photos, the more, of course, they're going to put even more emphasis on it, because they're going to dictate how well they're doing based on those photos. So I immediately have to pull them back in. And something that I do as soon as people come on board, they have to watch the transformation journey, which almost preempts the step-by-steps, because I've coached enough people to know exactly what they're going to be like. I know that by week 2, they're going to be looking in the mirror, they're going to take a photo, send it to me, and they're going to wait for my approval. So I almost map out the transformation journey, which typically is what people go through. Week 2 is the first set of photos, as in you start and then 2 weeks later, photos. This is where you won't see much changes, but all we're doing here is we're trying to get you used to being accountable, used to waking up on a Saturday morning, right? I'm going to check in. I'm going to delete my photos, because it's not your responsibility to look at them. It's ours. We know what we're looking for. You don't. You have no idea, right? You send them, you move on with your day. We then reply to the other metrics. We acknowledge we've got your photos so you don't think we're being rude. But we reply to the other metrics. Look, you've been messaging in the group. I noticed you've watched the VIP site videos. You're already like asked other questions that show me that you're on it. Like, Chris, should I split my workouts up, or should I do this? Should I do that? That's big, big, big green flags for us. And the more we go, look, pictures, there's not much change, the person's going to freak out and it's going to create that bad relationship with the check-in procedure. So then it's week 4, week 6, week 8, and we frame what we're expecting. And look, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It doesn't matter, because you've got stronger. You've told us that you're feeling more confident in the genes that you've had for 2 years, or all these kind of big things. And it's just celebrating the big picture. So yeah, mate, absolutely. So we've had clients who have had that pressure on themselves for the get-go, and it's about reining it back in. It's about realizing, look, there's a lot more to it than this. Yeah, we do showcase before and afters, but read the caption, mate. Dan, there's always context in my captions. See, what I don't do as well, mate, is I don't put duration up anymore, because it's leading people into unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
So I used to be like 12-week transformation. If you go far back as like 2 years ago, you'll see that. But in the last year and a half, you won't see duration at all, mate, because not even after 12 weeks, I just don't do it. Because it creates that body image thing where it's like, I could get that in 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. I'm going to do it. And from a marketing point of view, you could say arguably that crosses me off a wee bit, because I could lure more people in, mate, but that's not what I'm about.
Yeah.
If anything, mate, if anybody's listening to this and wants to get for me to prove it, if you go to my Instagram and you go to my highlights, you'll see The Secret is called. And it's literally just 6 months transformations and more. And it's 6 photos of the person. And the whole point of it is The Secret is consistency. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's not any quick fix. There is no secret. It's just consistently this person has been accountable, whether it's filling in the body and mind program sheet, whether it's checking in consistently, even if you don't feel like it. Like the key is consistency. So yeah, mate, you're absolutely spot on. And when we can notice it from people who aren't clients, and that's where it's quite good to reach out and just be like, look, just wondering, curious, how do you check in with yourself? I see you put photos up every Saturday of you've just checked in with yourself. Do you focus on other elements? And that's just what we want to paint the bigger picture as coaches.
Yeah, brilliant. So just to touch on that then very quickly as well, for anyone listening to that, you've obviously got your check-ins, not to give away all your secrets, but what main markers would you be looking for? Or what main markers would you be monitoring? For mine, on my body and mind scale, I'm looking at happiness, confidence, sleep, stamina, energy, strength. My play on strength is slightly different. We don't go for, again, I'm just trying to be awkward, trying to be different. Yeah, we'll look at kilos on the barbell, but we also have them rate their strength out of 10. So their perceived strength. So that can be day-to-day strength throughout the day and that type of stuff as well. Relationship with food. Those are some of my markers. What are some of yours that anyone listening to should go to know that these are the best ways for them to monitor their progress and improvement?
Yeah, mate, very similar. Very similar. I think some good questions are, I think sometimes the best questions are vague ones. You know, if I was to ask you, are you happy with your progress this week? And then you give yes or no. And if they say no, and a text block prompts and it's required, this gives a good indication of why they're not happy with their progress. And 2 things happen. One, they'll go, I just never did X, Y, and Z. I never planned my days better so that I could get out my walk. I never took stuff out the freezer in time because the kids and X, Y, Z. And usually what they do is they present why they never reached it. And then they give a solution. And what they're doing there is creating autonomy and identifying it themselves. So that's a simple question. But as long as you give them the option to put a text box or whatever and prompt it, can be powerful. If they hit yes, then other questions can prompt, such as, why are you happy with progress? What could we really celebrate this week? And then they can go in and tell you, I just felt that this week I got it right. I learned my lessons from last week. I hit my calories, I hit my steps. I'm actually starting to feel really, really confident now and empowered. So these kind of things, and so, like, those are massive markers. And I think just good questions, mate, similar to the subjects that you mentioned. We do photos every second week. If the client, their goal isn't to do anything to do with physical, we don't do photos every second week. But obviously we've found like I say, when we put the markers up, when people get too obsessed with the photos, we'll delay it for 4 weeks because it's actually having a detrimental effect more than it is the benefit.
That's something you would do. You would jump. You would see that. You would notice that. You would jump in and do that, because that
100%.
was my next question. Because we've got this appearance ideal internalization, which is essentially someone thinking that once they reach a certain, or the ideal size and shape and weight, that they're going to be happy. So, like you discussed there, you've got people messaging you off the bat saying, "I want to be one of these transformations." So how do you tackle this? Is it, because it must be, it's easy for me in a way, because we don't do the before and afters. So that's kind of my way from cutting it away from that, of just being like, yeah, we're going to get you fit and happy and confident, but we're not going to tie this at all to body image. Because you do have that tie to body image. How do you go about that? What sort of things do you have in place, or what do you say to them in order for them to, post before and afters, focus on your body image because you want to feel confident, but that's it. How do you do that?
Yeah, well, it's about framing. Like, it's that question, isn't it? Like, if you look this way, how would you feel? Right. And then I use my experience to go, as you'll know, Dan, for being in shape for photo shoot and stuff, no matter what you end up looking like, you'll never be happy. So, spoiler alert. And I know it sounds a bit negative and pessimistic, but a lot of the time what I do, Dan, is see clients that I get quite over the longer term. They send you text messages right after their dieting phase, and they're even from the body and mind program, if they're in a very good place mentally, and they say, I feel good, maybe not singing for the heavens about it, and then they go into a bit of a dark place, and I'm not talking serious depression here, but I'm talking slipping back to bad habits, and they say to you, Dan, I was just looking back at check-ins there, and 8 weeks ago, I wish I felt that way. Remember I sent you that picture? Remember I sent you that message? And the funny thing is, like, and before and afters are even worse in this case, because I've got clients who they'll get their check-in, they'll go, I feel all right about it. I could still lose fat here, still lose fat there. And then a couple of months later, it's like I say, 8 weeks later, they go, I wish I could go back to that. And usually a physical they can see it, can't they? Yeah. I wish I could go back to that. And you go, well, I've got a text message here saying that you wish you could still lose fat for here and here. And that's when they have the turning point to go, fuck, you're right. And I go, see what I mean? You're never going to be happy. So what we need to focus on, otherwise we'll drive ourselves crazy, is the other elements, the bigger picture here. So yeah, mate, I think that just framing it in the right way, and I think authority helps as well, Dan. When you come in and somebody wants a transformation, they also respect you. They also know that you've done a few of these transformations. Yeah. So I always preempt it, and I give this advice to PTs all the time. But see if you can preempt or be ahead of a client's thinking. Yeah, the relatability that you get, mate. I mean, you'll get this as well with clients where you'll message them and you'll just know that they're having a bad day because you can see it as a coach, and they'll go, "How did you know, Dan?" And you go, "I just do." And that buy-in, that trust, and that relatability just gets the relationship off to a great start, and we can just start being honest with each other, mate. So I tend to do that with clients. I'll know when they've been quieter. I know when I'll watch their Instagram stories and they're starting to be very image aware, and they're starting to post it, and they're maybe looking for likes, they're maybe looking for story replies. And that's where I could simply go like this, Dan, don't take photos this weekend. We're going to focus a wee bit more on other aspects. So I want you to give me these 5 things that went well this week that isn't photos. You know yourself, like, again, before and afters, when they're done ethically, they can be done very, very well.
Yeah, brilliant. So I hadn't planned this question, but it's just literally just because I'm picking up on it. So how important it's just for any coaches or for anyone who exercises, who has a coach, how important is that calling the bullshit and tough love? Because that used to be something that I wasn't very good at. I was kind of just too nicey. You just want to please everyone, being like, let's just have a good experience. Everything's going to be great. And I've totally flipped that now. I can be incredibly hard on people, but again, it's in a good way. It's because it's coming from a good place, and they know it's coming from a good place. Whenever I jump on a call with anybody who's wanting to join my program, because it'll be the same as you, we do calls, just so we know that it's the right people, that we need to make sure that they're going to get the best from us as well, and to know that we get along. But one of the main things is that straight away I just say, listen, I was like, I'm gonna, like, if at any point on this call I come across as being really harsh on you, it's purely because this comes from a good place and I've got your best interest at heart. Is that okay with you? And then some of them don't want to hear it, and some of them are like, yeah, I need to hear this. So how important do you think that is in the role as a coach, to actually be that wee bit harder on people?
Yeah, I think it's very important. Obviously, we've got different coaches for different clients. There's a coach out there for every client, and there's a coach out there that won't work well with clients. And like you mentioned there, we get on a call at the start to make sure everybody's in a good place for a good fit. You might not be a good fit for somebody on the call today, but you might be in 6 months' time when they're ready for that being called on their bullshit. And I think it's crucial, mate. I think it comes as a coach. You'll know yourself as with experience, with authority, with knowledge, and belief as a coach as well, mate. When you believe in the service that you offer, and the only way to get belief from a service is text messages from clients that really make you feel comfortable that you're delivering a great service. So I think if we tie it in, mate, there's coaches who don't call bullshit anymore, and they don't put that fit down with their clients. And I'm not going to tell them how to run a business. They can do it the way they want. But this is where I find with the mental health stuff, mate, is, you know, we are in the year of the millennium, the snowflakes. Like we're in people who, on one hand, we've got a really tough life now. We've got stuff going on. There's COVID, there's uncertainty, there's job loss, there's people dying, and that's all that's there, right? And I get that. But there's people who need coaches, and they need coached. Like turning around and saying, I hear people, one of the problems I've got with some coaches is I don't do before and afters. 3 months later, they'll post one because they finally got one. It's like, what you don't do before and afters? No, more like you just don't get them. You know, what you're doing is, I don't do them. Here's my results through different means. Whereas these coaches are lying to themselves, they're lying to their client, and they're not getting their client result. Why? Probably because the question you just asked me, mate, they don't know how to put the fit down. They're too busy backing off. And, you know, obviously there's a diet culture out there, mate, and it's hard because there's all these funky diets ruining people's relationship with food. But on the other side, people need to lose fat. They need to be held accountable and stop eating shite. Like, you're not in a bad way if you're eating 4,000 calories a day. And I know there's other things that might be causing it. There's a root of the problem. Let's forget about that a wee second. Let's have someone call you on your bullshit. And because there's some coaches out there now that are just, I need to watch people's wellness and mental health. It's like, the person needs to lose fat. You can't keep dancing around it. And then 3 months later, post a transformation and go, I don't post transformations. I just got this one. Like, do you think I'm posting before and afters without the person commenting a big paragraph saying, guys, thank you so much, I feel amazing? They're all there, mate. Everybody I've ever tagged in a before and after, the comments there, the person feels great. Yes, the before and after is not the most important factor. It's important to know that. But it's what the person says, it's how they feel. And that's exactly what your program's all about. But you can't be dodging the bullet here. The person needs help. And it's a bit like you being a mental health PT, but no messages and powerful comments and people filling in the body and mind program at 2s and 3s and then going up to 10s, and you don't have that. And all of a sudden, you know, you just change the game or change the goalposts. People need results, and the only way they're going to get results is if they have a coach who puts the fit down and calls them on their shit, because you will thank you later.
Yeah, definitely. I think from a personal perspective, that was one of the most difficult things for me starting out, was because it's, right, you've got people who potentially are suffering with a poor mental health, suffering with low confidence and that, and then it's like, well, how am I supposed to then speak to them at this? But then what we need to realise is, and this is something that's actually going to be taught in the qualification, is that every single person, no matter what's going on in their life, and if they have poor mental health or whatever, every single person still has things in their control that they can do, right? And everyone is capable of change. Everyone still has things in control. And if you then end up pandering to people and end up treating people totally different, that's then suggesting that they are totally different, which is what we don't want. When it comes down to everyone's human beings and everyone needs to be given a little bit of tough love, whether they've got poor mental health or whether they don't, yes, we frame it differently. And yes, we do it totally differently. And we have to take lots of other things into account. And we need to frame it so that these individuals know that this means absolutely no disrespect and that type of stuff. But that tough love is still such a massive, massive part. And it all comes down to people. Everyone makes excuses. I make excuses for myself. You're going to make excuses for myself. Everyone has confirmation bias. Everyone tells each other a story that they want to hear to make them feel better about something, for them not doing something and not holding themselves accountable. So everyone has it. And I think it's just that then that can sometimes get taken the wrong way. We mentioned at the start of this, body dysmorphia. This is being flung around all the time at the moment. What role does the fitness industry have in body dysmorphia, especially in the younger generation at the moment?
Mate, we have probably one of maybe the biggest role out of any service or any, like, I mean, the social media probably plays a bigger role than the fitness side of it. But we have a massive role in it, and it all comes down to honesty, mate. We know me and you know that over the last couple of years, there's some big companies that have been sued for like absolutely terrible ways of marketing, like really, really the lowest of the low. So coaches, we have a position to. I mean, what you're doing is great, mate, and it's that can impact 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds. It can impact even younger. It can impact obviously people who once thought they were really sturdy, like 40 plus, and all of a sudden a grey cloud has came over their head and they need help. So yeah, as coaches, like I mean, I've had to instantly up my game when it comes to mindset and mental health and stuff. I mean, that's why I've got specialists in, and that's why you'll come on my podcast as well, because I'll be honest, Dan, I don't suffer from any of it. I don't have much of a passion for it, if I'm being perfectly honest, mate, because I'm fine. And I know that, and I know that you've mentioned this before, mate, about you're kind of dispelling the myth that you have to have depression to help people with depression, and that's great. So, but I just don't feel that that's my strengths. I mean, I can be empathetic with clients and stuff, but I play to my strengths, mate, which is leading from the front, doing before I think, and hopefully that inspires people. So, yeah, mate, I think that we have a big role in it. And as coaches, we need to be careful how we post our clients' photos, what we say in the caption, because, man, that is one of the most powerful things we can do is post a picture and then give zero context, because you don't know how many people that's influencing in such a negative way. So please give context when you're posting a picture of yourself or in the past. Don't put a picture up if it was you 3 years ago and just not say, give context, speak about where you're at. What does the photo mean? The caption should be bigger than the photo, because it should be saying, this is what I felt in this given time. I know that, you've reached out, Dan, and posted a photo of in your highest body fat, how you felt. And let's be honest, mate, it was a time where you were bevving with your pals a lot. The image represents your body fat, yes, but the lifestyle was the problem, and we know that. But you see how the image was powerful in the first place, and you gave context. What you didn't do is just post up that and then keep posting your photo shoot pic without context. You said, this is how I felt, this is where my life was at, this is how I felt to get in this nick. Now I'm in the middle and finding that balance, and I want to help you with finding that balance.
Yeah, and it all comes down to context as well. And this is one of the key themes that now we've hit home now, because everyone, I saw the thing you posted the other day, someone was arguing with you about something. It's just, we live in this generation where people just have nothing better to do than to go online and sit and like slate you for something. And honestly, like there was one time on Facebook where it was like to every single thing I posted, no matter what it was, I would have at least one person saying something negative about it. This was like, this went on for months and months and months. It was like the first lockdown, there was all the Black Lives Matter and all that type of stuff going on. And you could putting a picture up at one of my clients' mental health, and it would turn into like a Black Lives Matter debate on Facebook. And it's, I think if you're on social media and you're scrolling through things, just like, especially like repeatees and trainers, know that 99% of us, it is coming from a good place. I think I generally, I know the same as you, we can actually be quite hard on LPTs, and we can kind of be quite opinionated on them. But I think it's because we do pick up on the ones where bad things happen and the heart isn't in the right place. I think majority of PTs actually do, and the heart is in the right place, and they do generally want to help people. So if you're following any trainers on Instagram or Facebook, like whatever it is, they're probably just wanting to help. And yeah, you can pick up on wee things that they do in that, but just remember where that's coming from. And majority of us are in the same thing together. I remember it was absolutely fucking ridiculous. I remember, so Chris has got a small private gym similar to myself, very similar ethos. And when Chris first opened his gym, I shared it onto my story, and I was like, anyone in Glasgow, good things coming here. And somebody messaged me being like, oh my God, mate, that's amazing. You opening a gym in Glasgow? And I was like, oh, no, it's no mine. I'm not opening the second one. It's blah, blah. And he was like, well, why are you sharing it then? And like, that was someone's, I can't remember if I said to you at the time, that was someone's like response.
Aye.
Because so in the fitness industry, because we've got businesses which people could argue are in competition with each other. No, like, it doesn't matter. Like, you need to focus on yourself. And ultimately, we are in it in the same game. We're in it for the same reasons, and we're in it to help people. I've got one last question for you. What would you say are the 3 things that are most wrong with the fitness industry at the moment that you would like to change?
Wrong, mate. I think just as you've just mentioned there, like collaborating and communicating with other coaches. I mean, the likes of like Dan and myself, and I know other really good coaches who'll put up, ask me a question sticker. One day you'll get 15, the next you'll get 2. Like, do you realize that this is like a glorified Google search, but except you're actually going to get context and the answer from someone in the same city as you? So I think PTs who think they're in competition with other coaches are going to get left behind. You know, I'm sitting on this call with Dan. I used to be part of a mastermind that, you know, full of the best coaches in the UK, you could say. And the amount that we learned off each other was madness. And that's everything from the day-to-day, the systems, the what do you use for this, what do you use for that, right through to, right, if he can do that, I can do that, because we were in a similar place. We qualified together, or we're in the same city. So if you don't communicate with other coaches, you're going to get left behind. I think we could marry that up with the second one, mate, which in fact we'll leave 2 for the general population, but we could add in that if you don't reach out and if you don't invest, you're going to be left behind. I don't know one coach who is doing really well who hasn't invested thousands of pounds in their business. You know, I'll be perfectly honest, it was 3 years before I even spent a penny, apart from night trainers and fucking body warmers. We need to invest the money back. Like, you don't understand that coffee shops, restaurants, as soon as they get money in the door, they pay staff, they pay for new coffee machines, new cookery. We need to, as PTs, spend money back. I mean, a lot of you get 3-4 grand a month, you know, PTs on the gym floor, and they stay with a mum, and that's a lot of money. You know, that's 40 grand a year, and you just keep a hold of it all, and you don't even give back, and you don't even put it in. You're expecting your clients to invest, and you don't even invest in coaching and mentoring. So that needs to be fixed, in my opinion. The other 2, mate, I think the second one would be following the right people, mate, and guarding your inputs and outputs. Like, not even following before and after stuff, just following people that share your values. Like, how many people listening to this get annoyed scrolling through social media when all they literally have to do is click on follow, and you'll never see that again that triggered you? I know it sounds so simple, and I know you might have an attachment, but you need to follow coaches who share. If you look at mine and you go, you know what, I don't like females standing like that, it makes me feel insecure, do not follow me. If you're not prepared to read the context, don't follow me. If you want to focus on, like I said, if you see a screenshot that Dan puts up and you go, I'm all about that, great. Or if you want a before and after, if you want to see, if you go, do you know what, I've tried various things, I'm actually pretty solid, I don't have kids, I live with my partner, we're in a good place, I just need someone to tell me to stop eating shite, then that might be for you. It might be, who knows, right? But you need to guard your inputs and outputs. I'm constantly going through social media. If I don't like what I see, I unfollow it, because obviously, you know yourself, Dan, but when you were first starting it, you follow everybody back so you can grow your following and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm following people. I'm like, I've never even communicated with you ever, and you're putting pictures of your wains up. I don't need to see that, right? So unfollow. So I'm constantly having a clear out. That is so important, because let's face it, guys, throughout your day, the reason you get triggered is whatever you've just seen. You've seen something, you've seen it before and after, or you've seen somebody talking negatively about COVID, and you get triggered. Then you go and check the news, and then you start freaking out. That's your problem. You need to clear that out. The third thing I think, mate, would just be for people just like looking for help and in a bad place, is make that first step. Like, you know, when it comes to jumping on a call with me or Dan or any other good coaches, the worst thing that can happen from that call is that you realize it's too expensive, and then that's it. Like, you might just realize that I'm not in a financial place. See the rest of it. Dan's going to ask you really good questions. I'm going to ask you really good questions that actually gives you a shape of how your life is. And, you know, I'm sure Dan can agree that I've had people on the call crying because they finally got that third party to open up to. I'm sure you have more than me, mate, with the questions that you'll ask. But these people, they make that step, they answer the call, and they get emotional on the phone because you're not their partner. You're not their sister or brother. You're actually a third party who is just an impartial ear, like a therapist, who they can just get it all off their chest. You know, they can't tell their sister because their mother might find out, and it ends up everybody knows. And instead they open up about their confidence, the dark place they're in. So I would say anybody listening, take that first step. What's the worst that can happen? You can open up, cry a wee bit, and realize you can't afford it. And the best case scenario is you get a plan in place, you join a community of people who can help you, like-minded. I mean, they've just been through it or gone through it, and then you can change your life. It's as simple as that, mate. You can change your life.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a great way to round that off. And I would totally agree as well, as you'd be amazed at some of the things that people open up to me about. And again, it's because they've either held it in or because they feel as if it's a safe place to do this. And I hope that anyone listening knows that, whether it's myself or whether it's Chris, that, and this is hopefully some of the movement that I'm pushing now, will be that this is a place for you to open up and talk about, yeah, we've got counselors and therapists and all these people, and then we've got personal trainers. But if the personal trainers are teaching you how to exercise, and 1 in 3 people suffer from poor mental health, or not even that, let's even forget that demographic. How many people suffer from stress? How many people just suffer from low self-esteem, low confidence? Hopefully this is further down the line, not to confuse things and not to give us a role that isn't ours, but a place that you can come and talk and open up and then be helped, and then the exercise will just add loads of value to that. Chris, thank you so much. That was amazing, guys. I hope you took so much from that. We'll do the usual every other podcast finishes. Chris, if people want to find you, where can they find you?
The Glasgow PT on Instagram, the Glasgow PT on Facebook, and obviously glasgowpt.com. Big man, thanks so much for having me on. It's exclusive for the Body and Mind program, guys. I will speak to them on the 26th. The rest of you listening, unfortunately, you won't get to hear that. So unlucky.
Amazing. Guys, that was a great body image standoff. I hope you enjoyed it. Chris is going to be joining me in a few podcasts' time to discuss how to get a world-class transformation. Until then, please subscribe to this channel if you aren't already, the Truth Be Told podcast. Follow me on Facebook at Dan Hancock, the Mental Health PT, or on Instagram at InstaDan Fitness. Guys, I really, really hope you enjoyed that. If anyone wants to inquire about my Body and Mind program, please get in contact with myself. And similarly, if you want to become a mental health and exercise coach, shoot me a message. Until next time, take care.